Hi guys, it's your island girl and I'm back with another reaction video for you today. And today I'm reacting to why I feel more free in Britain than in America. American living in the UK. Now I'm getting this one from Girl Gone London. Please go over and show her some love. The link will be in the description below. She has amazing content on her channel, so please show her some love. Guys, I did get her permission to use her content. If I did not, I would not have continued to do so. So please, I'm asking you, be respectful in the comment section and stop leaving your dirty comments in my comment section. All right? With that said, I'm going to get into this video. If it's your first time here, welcome. Thank you for being here. To all my regular schmeglers, day one, sweetie pie, sweetie poos, come on in right back. Put a smile on your face and enjoy. All right? So let's get into this video and hear what she have to say about why she feels free, more free in Britain than in America. Here we go right now.
In the UK, I can cross the road wherever I want to cross the road. I can look to see if there's traffic with my own eyes, and I can just decide to walk across that road with no fear of a fine or a ticket or getting in trouble. Which sounds more free to you? Hi, and welcome back to the Girl Gone London channel. Today, I am discussing all the ways in which I feel more free in the UK than in the USA. And this is a funny topic, I suppose, because America associates itself with freedom and the fact that Americans are free. But I was thinking about whether I would want to move back to America, and it has changed at various points in my life here in the UK. If you don't know, I am a dual UK and US citizen, so technically I could live in either country, and I have chosen for multiple reasons, but some of these in this video to be in the UK. When I think about moving to America, there are some things that come up that I'm not entirely sure I could deal with, and that made me realize that actually my life here in the UK seems more free than it would be in the USA. So let's get started. Number one, and this is probably the biggest way in which I feel I have more freedom here in the UK, has to do with healthcare. Now, the reason I was thinking about this is not just the fact that I can go to the doctor here and not pay anything, or have a surgery and not pay anything. It's also to do with the fact that I am self-employed. And so if you're self-employed in a place like the UK that has a nationalized healthcare system, it means that you don't have to factor this in to your job, or what it means if you lose a job or gain a job or anything like that. And if you're British, you're probably a little bit confused if you're not familiar with how it works in the US. So in the US, having health insurance is essentially mandatory to be able to go to the doctor, to get surgeries, like to get help. If you don't have anything at all, technically you can still get emergency help, but it's a whole big thing. So in general, you need health insurance. Typically, health insurance is going to be attached to a job, but it's going to be attached to a salaried job, and it's considered part of the perks of the job. So people in the US who are self-employed or freelancers or not in a traditional 9-to-5 salaried position still need health insurance, but it doesn't come with your job as a perk. So you then have to source that health insurance for yourself, pay the monthly fees, which can be extortionate. So we're not talking like $50 a month here. We're talking at least in the multiple hundreds per month in order to have health insurance in case you have any sort of medical need. So if I were to move to the US right now, I would feel a lot less free financially because I would have to be paying, again, extortionate amounts for health insurance every month. And I might not even have the freedom to be self-employed in the US because of how much extra that adds on per month and per year to your costs. And again, after you have the health insurance in America, you still often have what we call a copay, which is the money you still need to pay towards the doctor's appointment or towards the surgery or towards the hospital visit or whatever it is. So let's say that your insurance does cover your doctor, you might still have a $50 copay, which means that you still need to pay out of pocket $50 every time you have a doctor's appointment. And yes, the insurance will cover the rest, but you're still paying out of pocket. Here in the UK, if I have any sort of issue that I need to see a doctor for, I don't worry about budgeting for it. I'm just able to go. And in that way, I think that I get much better healthcare here in the UK because I'm not worried about the financial aspect of it. I don't second guess whether I really need to be seen or can just like fix myself on WebMD, because it doesn't cost me money at the point of interaction here in the UK. Yes, you pay through it through your taxes, you pay through it in other ways. Everybody always says the NHS isn't free. It's not free overall, but it is free to each individual at the point of interaction. So it's much different to the American system, which is not free at any point. And even if you have health insurance, you are often still paying out of pocket. The next thing on my list.
All right. 4 minutes in, and I had to pick up every drip of what she was saying. Now, guys, oh geez, this is a big one, and that's one of the things that I keep looking at every time I react to videos about the UK, and I'm like, and I hear about your healthcare, I'm like, oh Lord, why? Why can't America adopt something like this? I understand it comes out of the taxes are a little higher, but at the end of the day, you don't have to sit down and worry about, if you're dying, not to go to the hospital because you don't want to end up in debt. It's that simple. You rather stay home and stay sick because you're worried about the cost associated with going to the doctor. You're afraid to go to the doctor based on that. Now, when she touched on the fact that you get insurance based through your job, so it's a salary. If it's a salary paying job, it's one of the perks, so-called perks of having a job is getting healthcare. And it depends on the kind of job that you have, and it depends on the position that you hold. Because sometimes you're in that job and you do not get healthcare through your employer because you're a part-time, or you don't reach certain requirements that is needed. You don't fit that, which is crazy to me. I cannot wrap my head around it. Guys, not to mention the copay. Oh, geez, the copay is on another level. So yes, you'll go to the doctor here in the US, and when you go to the doctor, you still have a hefty bill to pay, even though you have health insurance through your employer. And if you're self-employed, you have to figure out a way, like she said, to get health insurance, and you're paying an arm and leg for that insurance. And even though you're paying an arm and leg, you still got to turn around and pay a copay. Now, not all insurance you have to pay a copay on, to be honest with you. The better the insurance, the less the copay or no copay at all. But the cheaper the insurance, you're paying an exuberant amount out of pocket, which to me, it's sad, but yet still this is the land of the free, and it is the greatest place on earth. Let's move on, because I'm like, oh baby, it's sad when you think about it.
And this is much more trivial, but it does have to do with the public access to land here in the UK. Watch my countryside video that I posted recently if you haven't seen that, where I talk about the public access to footpaths here in the UK, meaning that you can essentially roam or walk through privately owned land a lot of times because you have right of way as the public on a footpath. In America, it is not like this at all. Private land is basically private land, and you can go to, of course, a park or a national park or something like that, but you can't usually just leave your house or pick a particular spot and keep wandering for a long time. It's a much more private system that has no public access or right of way in that sense. So I feel like I can move a little bit more freely in the UK when it comes to walking. And also, my third reason that I feel more free.
Let me jump onto this. Oh my word. That one was a shocker to me when I found out that I can just roam on a piece of land without getting stopped or saying, listen, get off. I can roam free without being charged that I'm on somebody's private property. That to me was like, what? Are you serious? I can roam on a piece of land without somebody telling me to get off? You can't, you're trespassing, get off my land? That's amazing, guys. I'm not gonna lie. Now, that is what they call freedom. And it doesn't matter if it's a farmland, you can still go through it. It's crazy to me. It's amazing, but I'm like, It's yeah. The one of that was like, oh wow, that's amazing.
In the UK than in the USA is public transportation. So America, for the most part, is run on cars. Now, a lot of the UK is also run on cars. If you go to Cornwall, you're probably going to want a car. There are buses, but a car is going to get you places much faster. However, the vast majority of the UK is really well connected by trains, by buses, and by other forms of transportation than a car. So it means here I have more options. Maybe I still do want to take a car into the countryside, but if I didn't have one, I could check out the local buses. I could check out the trains. The train system in the UK can get you very, very far and to tons of different places. As you saw in my Great Missenden video the other day, I can go to this countryside feeling village 40 minutes on the train from London, no car necessary.
Oh, wow.
The next thing on my list.
That's amazing. So here, if you live in certain parts and you don't have a car, you're in problem because there's no bus route. It's you wonder how is it that America is such, they say, the so-called greatest place on earth, but yet still you still have areas where there's no local bus route, there's no train station, and even if there's a train station, it doesn't run to certain areas, and it's always delayed and it's always jam-packed. And if you don't have somebody that you can carpool with, you're in problem. Yeah. So I can see what she meant by there's always access. You don't necessarily have to have a car. And that's awesome.
And this doesn't really apply to me because I don't really drink, but if we're putting this list together for your average American versus British life, in the UK, the drinking age is 18.
Oh.
Whereas in America, it is 21. So in that way, the UK seems more free and at an earlier age. The next thing on my list,
drinking. One thing I cannot wrap my mind about here in the US. The drinking age begins at 21. Yes. But yet still, you can, before 21, you can go and buy a cigarette. You tell me how that math is matching up in their brain. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I can never seem to wrap that in my head. Okay, you can have access to certain things, but you can't have access to alcohol. You tell me, you can have access to firearm, but you can't have access to alcohol. Listen, guys, it's diabolical. I don't get it. It don't make no sense to me. Like, yeah, every time I think about it, I get a little irritated because I'm like, ugh.
Again, has to do with my employment. And this really, as I've mentioned, is what has gotten me thinking about this subject. And this is to do with employment rights and paid leave. So when you talk about freedom, in the UK, if I were to work a traditional 9-to-5 salaried position, I would be guaranteed by the government 28 paid days of annual leave per year.
Wow.
In the US, if I were in the same exact position, a salaried 9-to-5 job, there are no federal government requirements for how many days I could have off. That, again, is seen as like a perk of the job. So you hope to pick a job that offers you enough leave or enough days off, or vacation days, as we call it in America. But there is no federal mandate for how many days this has to be. It could be 0. And
I cannot believe that you guys have mandated, holiday time, leave from work. That's amazing. I'm not gonna lie, guys. That's amazing. Like she said, here in the US, no, it's not guaranteed. It is not mandated, and it depends on the job that you have. If you get holiday time paid, not even not paid, holiday leave. It's I don't get it. I still can't wrap, because I'm like, don't you think it would be wise to at least have that so your employees can function better, can have something to look forward to? It's something else when it come on to leave time from work here. She is so right on that, guys. I don't understand why it is not mandated. I don't get it, because I'm like, you're busting your chops And they don't think that you are entitled to leave at least 2 weeks. She said it's mandated in the UK for you to get time off from work. Huh? 28 days. Or is it 29? One out of the other. But I'm like, that's amazing. That will never happen in the US. If it haven't happened yet, it's not gonna happen anytime soon. And it's so sad that when you think about it, depending on the job that you're in, you're entitled to it. That to me don't make no sense. It doesn't add up.
And even when you do tend to get vacation days included in your job in America, it usually is much less than in the UK, which is why in the UK and in Europe, actually, people tend to think of like the summer holidays or the winter holidays or whatever it is, as people can take multiple week trips sometimes. But in my experience, Americans almost never have that 28 days off per year, or even more in some other European countries. They're going to have fewer days. And so their trips need to be a bit shorter, maybe 5 days, maybe 7 days at a max. Taking a like 2 or 3 week trip, as people can often do in the UK or in Europe, is definitely not something that happens that much. So I think
I gotta say this too, and it's crazy that in Jamaica you do get that time. You get it. But here in the US, the land of the free, it's not the case. Had to say that.
I think to myself, if I were to move back to America tomorrow, maybe let's say I'm not self-employed anymore and I do work a traditional 9-to-5 job, I would feel in that way less free than I have felt in the jobs that I've worked here in the UK. And that would be a huge and hard adjustment to make. The next thing on my list is the lower higher education fees here in the UK, which I can do because I did do my full master's degree here in the UK. So I know how much it costs here, even as an international student, versus how much doing a master's degree would cost in the USA. I've mentioned this in my video about things that are cheaper in the UK than in the USA. This in my video about things that are cheaper in the UK than in the USA, but higher education is definitely one of those. So when you compare the costs here in the UK to the $50,000, $60,000 per year cost for some universities in the US, I mean, which one seems more doable to you? Which one seems like that country has more freedom? I don't know. There's a lot of good things about America, but the more I make this list, I'm like, there's a lot of ways in which there is so much more freedom here in the UK that maybe people don't realize. And of course, the most obvious one, I have left it to this point on the list.
Education here in the US. You see how I breathe in to say that, guys? Education here. Tertiary education here. Even private education here. It's an arm and a leg. Now, your kids are getting out of high school, going into college, and they're going to be in debt if they don't have a free ride to college, or if their parents is not well off. We're in problem. So it is, listen, them prices is no joke. And I notice a lot of the times that other countries have way lower university rates than the US. Way lower. And kids don't have to necessarily worry. And there's so many grants, and there's guys, I don't know. It's scary. It's scary.
Has to do with firearms. So yes, there is crime in the UK. Yes, there is an increase in different types of crimes in different cities. It's nothing compared to how you feel in America at all times, knowing that firearms are allowed to be held by your average citizen. And what I will say is that when you live in America for long periods of time, or you grow up there, this is a fact of life you have to get used to. Yep. So do you necessarily go around fearing this all of the time?
No.
Not necessarily, because you do have to become kind of immune to that fear in order to live your life. But now that I've lived in the UK, and I can go to the movie theater, I can go to the mall, I can go to a restaurant without fearing some sort of gun violence incident, when I go back to the US now, I am very aware. So if I go to like a crowded movie theater or a crowded mall, I do look around and I think of what could potentially happen. And this wasn't a way that I thought when I lived in America, as I said. So you do have to become immune to it a little bit. But now that I've experienced a place where that fear is not always present,
Wow.
it doesn't make sense to me to go back to that fear. And it doesn't make me feel more free to think of a life in America where I would have to be, or feel like I would have to second guess the places I would go and how crowded they are and who might have access to them. And to counter that, another trivial one is jaywalking.
Okay, guys, this is a huge one. And I see where she's coming from, living in the UK and not having that fear, of your kids going to school and not coming back, not having that fear of you have to consider buying bulletproof backpack or bulletproof vest to walk around because you don't know what will happen around the next corner. And that to me is what you call freedom. Not having that fear to think that, okay, if I go to the movie theater or if I go to a gathering where there's diverse people there, I don't have to be looking over my shoulders to say, okay, something is going to go wrong at any minute. I get that. That's amazing to have a feeling like that. You're living in the UK, and I get it. Yes, you guys do have knife crimes. It's. I've seen it in different videos, but I'll take that any day over this constant fear living in the US where you have to be looking over your shoulder, thinking about what school is next, which baby's life will be taken, or which mother, which father, or which senseless shooting is going to take place for stupid stuff. And the crazy part about living in the US and when it comes to gun control is that you don't know who have a gun because everyone have access to firearm, which is to me is not another time I'm using diabolical. And everybody think, oh, it is my right. It is a part of the Constitution, and it's in the and it cannot. It's an amendment. It can be amended. There's such a word. Don't come for me. But I'm like, it can be changed, and everybody feel like saying, look here, this was written, and this is how it shall be, and guns are more important than people's life. It's as simple as that. And that's the mentality of majority of Americans here. And that's why they don't feel like they should live anywhere else because their right has been taken away from them in other countries. They're blinded and there's a wool over their eye because everybody's thinking about an apocalypse. I don't get that. What? I don't know what. Listen, guys. It is heartbreaking. It is sad, and I still cannot wrap my mind around it. How comfortable people are about this situation here when it comes on to gun control.
So in America, there are lots of laws in different states that you cannot simply cross the road wherever you would like to cross the road. By law, you have to cross the road at a dedicated crossing.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you could run the risk of getting yourself a ticket or some sort of fine. You're likely not going to be put in jail for jaywalking, but it's still something that is codified as not legal. So again, you're looking at some sort of punishment or at least a slap on the wrist from a police officer. In the UK, I can cross the road wherever I want to cross the road. I can look to see if there's traffic with my own eyes, and I can just decide to walk across that road with no fear of a fine or a ticket or getting in trouble. Which sounds more free to you? And finally, the last thing on my list.
Gotta be honest with her. The way that she's rapping and spitting these out and the explanation, you gotta think, which is free? Is it more free in Britain than in America? You tell me, because I can definitely say it's more free in the UK than it is in America based on everything she has said, because I agree with her 100%. Imagine walking across the street. You can discern for yourself whether or not it is safe to cross the street or not. But if you do that in the US, you're definitely going to get fined, for walking across the street. You have to use the designated spots to go across. Unlike the UK, like she said, it's a free nearly. I was like in shock. I know shock is a word that is overused, but I was like, what? You can jaywalk? And they're like, what is that? There's no such thing. We just cross the road. Just, yeah.
List, and this is an interesting one. We might do a religion in the UK versus the USA video at some point in time, but it's a little bit of a nuanced topic because we'll take England as an example. England has an official religion, the Church of England.
Okay.
America doesn't have an official religion. However, Americans tend to be more religious. So again, there's layers to this topic. However, when it comes to people in power, in the UK, I feel like there is much more of a freedom of becoming somebody in power, whether that's at a more local level or a national level, regardless of your religion. The current leader of the Labour Party who are in power is an atheist. Rishi Sunak is a Hindu. It doesn't necessarily play into people's minds what somebody's personal, private religious beliefs are when it comes to their ability to lead. You might have problems with people based on a number of other reasons, but typically religion, again, is seen as private. And in some ways, that gives more freedom for people of all different religions to achieve lots of different things and hold this position of power. In America, it can tend to be more difficult for someone to be in a position of power without being a part of the majority religion, which is Christianity. So it doesn't always come into play. I'm not saying that it's never happened. People do have different religious beliefs and have held office, but people do think about it more. They do question it more. Yep. And there has currently been no president that has declared themselves as an atheist or not having a religion. And to me, that would seem like something that would not be possible right now in America. Okay, that brings me to the end of this video. There are lots of positive things about America. I do miss it. I do miss things about it, but I was thinking about what I would have to give up in order to move back there, and it's definitely not something that I would currently want to do for all the reasons listed. As always, thanks very much.
I get what she's saying 100%. Like she said, it's not that it's all bad here in the US. I get it. It's when the comparison between the two countries, when you think about it, is it more free in the UK than in America? And for everything that she lists, she's on point. Because when you think about it, from healthcare to gun control to jaywalking to work-life balance to paid leave vacation. You understand me? I'm like, think about it. Politics, religion. Hey. Boy. Yeah. And the other one that she talked about, and I was like, what? You can just walk free onto private property without any consequences whatsoever. And tuition. Every topic that she touched on, you can relax back and say, you know what? She's right. And if I had those, and if I was living in the UK, or if I had a dual citizenship, I would definitely be picking the UK over the US. Like I said, there are perks to living in the US. There are perks to living in the UK, but the UK outweighs the US. It's that simple, because you don't have to think about worrying if you're sick, whether or not you need to run to the doctor. You don't have to worry about, okay, if my kid go off to college, or if I go to college, I'm in debt. You don't have to worry about, okay, if I cross the street at a certain point, oh, if a police see me, I can get slapped with a charge for, or you understand? For just crossing the street. You don't have to worry about going to an event and sit there and wonder, oh boy, what is going to take place? I have to be looking over my shoulder, okay, worrying and panicking, okay, if I send my child to school, if my child return. You know, stuff like that. It when you stop to think about it, it's like, no, who wants to sit and live like that every day? Oh, thank you so much, Girl Gone London, for this one. Love this video. Don't forget, like I said, the link is in the description below to go over and show her some love. It's the Island Girl, and I'm running out of here. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this one. Are you in total agreement with her or not? Love you guys. Be good. Be safe. Be kind. Love each other. And I'll definitely catch you guys in another video. Bye.